Takes a Ride. Ernest the elephant had an ambition. He wanted to ride on a red bus. Each day, Ernest looked out from his enclosure. The buses went by exactly on the hour. The 3 o'clock is the bus for me, thought Ernest. Everyone will be taking a nap for lunch. Then he made his plan. One morning, Mr. Wainwright found a new notice in Ernest's enclosure. Throw cash, not buns. I'm saving up. Signed, Ernest Elephant. Mr. Wainwright was shocked, but the visitors loved it. In just one day, Ernest became rich. And here's Ernest in his enclosure with all the money in his elephant trunk. That night, Ernest went to bed early, but he was too excited to sleep. Tomorrow, he kept thinking, I shall ride on a red bus. Ernest was too nervous even to eat breakfast. He was too jittery to eat lunch. He was beginning to think that 3 o'clock would never come. By 5 minutes to 3, Mr. Wainwright and the animals were all snoring. By 2 minutes to 3, Ernest had clambered onto the boundary wall of the zoo. It was a struggle, but Ernest made it. At exactly 3 o'clock, the red bus arrived at the zoo. Ernest dangled his trunk over the wall right by the bus stop. And there he is, dangling his trunk over the wall to let the bus driver know that he wanted the bus to stop. The bus driver screeched to a halt. Ernest had attracted his attention all right. His trunk was blocking the road. The bus, luckily, had an open top, which lined up perfectly with the height of the zoo wall. And Ernest stepped very gently on board. Then he settled comfortably into 6 or maybe 7 seats. The bus driver had got over his surprise and he was beginning to feel quite important. He was looking forward to telling the other drivers that he had picked up an elephant. And there we have Ernest on his bus, looking very proud and happy, and the bus driver looking up at his latest client. The bus conductor was beginning to feel nervous. What if the elephant didn't have the fare? But he needn't have worried. Ernest had plenty of money. He handed it over with a note. Return trip to the zoo. Keep the change. Signed, Ernest Elephant. The red bus drove through the country and into town. Ernest saw all the sights: the shops, the churches, the parks, and the factories. He'd done it at last. I'm riding on a red bus, I'm riding on a red bus, he sang happily. Every few minutes the bus stopped. An old lady got on with her dog. A young boy got off with his hamster. But there were no zebras, monkeys, seals, or hippos at the bus stop. There was no sight of Mr. Wainwright's friendly face. Ernest began to feel homesick. Homesick and hungry. At exactly 4 o'clock, the red bus pulled up outside the zoo. Ernest got up from his 6 or 7 seats and stepped gently back onto the zoo wall. Thud! Ernest was back in his enclosure. Mr. Wainwright and the animals had stopped snoring by this time, and they were beginning to stir. Ah, it's great to be home, thought Ernest, and nuzzled his trunk into Mr. Wainwright's ear. Then he gave Mr. Wainwright a playful push. Mr. Wainwright didn't need a note to know what Ernest wanted. Mr. Wainwright could read Ernest like a book. Ernest was hungry, and Ernest wanted his tea.